Hello and welcome to another video. So spring has finally arrived in the UK. We've had a week of dry, relatively sunny weather, and I thought, you know what, it's high time to go for my first camping trip of 2026. So I've booked up a site called Woodsworth Exploring, which is a little way outside of Keighley. It's a really nice site. I went there last September. It's basically a small plot of woodland, and there's basically pitches all over it that you can use. They're all kind of quite well spaced out, so you're not on top of anybody else, and they've made it as close to sort of a wild camping experience as you can get, but as they say on their website, with the dignity of having a toilet block where you can wash up and all of the rest. So off we go. So we begin with the slow wind up through Hebden Bridge. This road is horrible. As you can see, it's absolutely chock full of on-street parking. It's quite windy, and it's unfortunately rather busy. And no one wants to give way to anyone else, so it's a bit of a constant sort of stop-start. But I've cut out all of the long waits in traffic that there were, just so this is not absolute agonising sort of viewing, but I kind of wanted to keep it in because it is part of the whole experience of living in this kind of part of the world. There are lots of these kind of very narrow little Victorian streets where there was never really any provision made for parking, and it's just what we have to deal with, I'm afraid. Now, I don't know if you've noticed yet, but the engine noise should be a little bit clearer from the scoot in this video, because I've managed to find a cheap cover to go over the GoPro that just blocks out a little bit of that wind noise. Whereas before I really had to turn down the engine noise, the background audio from the GoPro, just because, especially if you're doing, more than 20 miles an hour, there's just this constant sort of roar of wind noise, sort of threatening to drown everything out. But now you can just listen to that sort of cheerful note from the single cylinder pounding away. Now you can kind of see here just why it's crawling traffic up here. You've got vehicles trying to squeeze past. No one really wants to give anyone else any space, which means everyone drops down to go in, 2 or 3 miles an hour, because no one seems to know how wide their vehicle is. It's very frustrating. I mean, the red car could easily have just ducked into that gap for a while there, couldn't it? But nope. At least thank God those cyclists are on the pavement, eh? Just to insult to injury would be just getting through the traffic, then to immediately have to deal with cyclists on this road. And then finally, we're pretty much through all of the narrow section of road now, and we can enjoy the curvy road up through Packet Well and then on beyond onto the moors. So as you can see, I'm not going to be breaking any speed records on this particular journey, but Luna's pretty heavily loaded up. I've got my tent and my big sleeping pad on the back seat behind me. I'm wearing a backpack. The top box is full, under the seat is full, so the bike is pretty well loaded up, and I'm kind of like sat a little bit further forwards than ideally I would be. Which just means I just want to be a little bit extra cautious on the corners. and there are a lot of corners on this particular road, especially coming down on the other side of the moor. There's some proper hairpins and very tight bends where you really do need to drop your speed down, or you really risk running wide. So in my last video, I spoke a little bit about trying to make the decision about whether I was going to renew my CBT or try and go for my full license before the CBT expires in June. And I guess I've made a decision on that front, because I booked and passed my motorcycle theory test, and I now have my Mod 1 booked for the middle of April. So fingers crossed. So I'm going with the place in Huddersfield, because they've got like an A2 class Kimco 400cc scooter which I can do the test on. I think the actual DVLA training centre, test centre that I'm going to have to go to do the Mod 1 is in Wakefield. They gave me an option of a few different ones, but they're all quite a decent distance away. But they did say that they're going to take the bike there for me, so I don't have to sort of deal with potentially like an hour-long drive to get to the training centre, so I'm grateful for that. And then yeah, if assuming I can pass that, then I will get the Mod 2 booked in, hopefully get that out of the way, if not by the end of April, then in May, and then Bob's your uncle, I suppose. I've better rip those L plates off and start thinking about what comes after Luna. I don't think I'll be able to afford to replace Luna this year, unless there's a massive improvement, place where I work and I get a huge bonus, which I'm not really expecting to happen. But yeah, hopefully going into 2027 there'll be an option of getting something like maybe a Honda ADV or a Forza, or even an NMAX or something like that. Just have to sort of see where I am financially. But yeah, I'd really like to get a slightly bigger, more powerful scoot with more space under the seat, because the NMAX doesn't have masses of room under the seat by any means. Like it won't fit my helmet. It'll just about fit a sleeping bag and my walking boots, and then that's it. Ideally, I'd be able to get a bit more stuff under there, just to sort of have less things piled on the back of the seat. So I don't know, I'm quite excited about that. I spent far too long looking at reviews and YouTube videos of various and sundry maxi scoots. So I'm building up like a little mental sort of checklist of things and features and stuff that I want. So yeah, it's quite fun. So it's really nice to be up here in such fine weather. I think the last few times I've driven up this way, it's been steely grey skies, or there's been horrendous side winds sort of threatening to blow me into oncoming traffic. So the fact that there's almost no wind and it's blue skies and sunny is absolutely wonderful. It's a really nice road, and I mean, you see lots of motorcyclists coming up here. I think just because it's quite a twisty road, I definitely get overtaken by a few, I think, on my ride up here. Certainly if you're unburdened and you're very confident in your cornering capabilities, then I think this is probably a really fun route to do. But, you know, even me toddling along here at 40 is quite happy, to be completely honest with you. There's relatively little traffic. You know, there's faster ways to get up to Keighley than this. This is very much the scenic route. But, I mean, you know, I think sometimes taking the scenic route is probably the best way to go, especially on like a 125. You can enjoy the journey a lot more that way. I think a distinct advantage of having a more powerful engine will be being able to slow down for the corners and then be able to very quickly jump back up to a sort of speed limit of, like, say, 50 along here. Whereas on Luna, especially Luna with the big screen and all the luggage and what have you, is a little bit reluctant to climb up much past 40 miles an hour without a bit of a run-up. So yeah, definitely a few more horses under the hood is going to be a good thing next year. So I saw this car up here just starting to pull out. I noticed it was an old... Well, I saw a flash of white hair, so I'll slow down just in case. Don't need to pull into the front of an old lady as she pulls out of her house. But no, she did. She saw me. We made eye contact, so it was all good. here comes like the worst corner on this road. Such a tight one. And just in case you're thinking, oh, I better pick up speed, you immediately sort of turn another tight corner and then there's on street parking, so basically down to sort of 1.5 lanes. I noticed up here actually that I caught up with the motorcyclist who absolutely zipped past me earlier. So I guess it just goes to show, right, you don't necessarily actually gain that much in terms of actual distance covered just by going faster. This is always going to be something that's going to hold you up, or a corner where you really have to slow down. So I guess I feel somewhat vindicated in driving ultra safely on this particular trip. Now we're off the main road. There's lots of these twisty, steep little back streets and stuff to get to our final destination. So your ears did not just deceive you, that was the whistle of a steam train. So this little village is on the Keighley and Worth Heritage Railway that runs between Oxenhope and Keighley. So, although I don't think there's a station in this village, but the train line definitely runs pretty close to the campsite, because till quite late at night, so like maybe 10, 11 o'clock, you can still sort of hear the periodic sort of chuffing and chugging and whistle, which is quite fun. Very much sort of makes you feel like you've woken up in a different century. must say I was a little disappointed when I came here to see this place has been flag shagged since the last time I visited in September. So in the UK there's this sort of broadly racist movement to stick Union Jack and St George's flags on every lamppost in villages in a not very subtle attempt to sort of intimidate minorities and what have you. And it's kind of gross, and I'm grateful that I live in an area where it's much more tolerant. There's none of that nonsense going on. But yeah, I was hoping this was one of those kind of places too, that there's definitely a few lampposts with flags now tied to them. It's just very sad. This last turn here is really horrible. So yeah, I had to make sure nothing was coming, because there's no way to turn really tightly on that because of the angles of the road, and it's going quite steeply uphill as well. Not a load of fun. So we're basically here now. So thank you very much for watching. This is a slightly longer video, but it's just still such pretty countryside. It didn't really feel right to cut very much of out, and apart from queuing in Hebden Bridge again, there really wasn't much to cut there either. So anyway, I will leave you at the gates of Woodsworth Exploring, which is well worth looking up if you live anywhere in this kind of area and fancy a kind of quasi-wild camping kind of experience, because it's a really lovely location.